Anime begins in a world where demons ravaged humanity, but there existed a man so powerful that no demon could stand a chance against him. But seeing his overpower, his own student became wary of him and backstabbed him, and thus he was reborn as the son of Count Blaise Lamprogue, named Saika Lamprogue. There Blaise conducted a ritual to assess his magical aptitude, but Saika didn't have any magical ability at all, but it doesn't matter him because he's a spiritual power user. And he soon began to test his ability to change the leaves in crows, and their Glai, his half-brother, began picking on him, so Saika gave him what he deserved. Saika is a mistress's child. So no one gives him much attention and leaves him alone, but he had one friend named Ifa who just discovered his jacket from bushes, and both knew it was Glai messing around. But today happened to be his training day with Blaise, so Saika just asked to join them in their training. There both of his half-brothers showed their talent, but just to look down on Saika. Glai tells him to try out casting magic spell, thinking he would embarrass himself, but Saika just trashed his ego to him with his blue flames. He could use even more powerful spells, but in this life he wanted to live a normal life. After that, Saika spent his entire time studying this world's magic, and time passed as he turned 11. In this time Saika learns about the existence of the different world, so he tried out summoning one of his Ayakashi named Yuki. A fox spirit. Saika was just giving it a shot in summoning, so he thought of sending her back, but Yuki has no plans to return to that world as she hid away in Saika. Then just the other day, Ifa accidentally spilled water on Glai, so he tried to take advantage of her by calling her to his room for the night. There Saika steps in to protect her, so that jealous idiot backs off. Ifa then took Saika to show him an injured spirit creature, so he used his talisman to heal that little spirit creature. Ifa was amazed that even without magic, Saika could cast a spell, but he pointed out to her that she has some talent of her own. Ifa had kept her power of seeing the elemental spirit a secret from others because her mom told her to, but Saika already knew, so it was of no use to hide it. Then Saika summoned a fire spirit, and surprisingly it disappeared as Ifa ordered it. Her talent would become a great help, so Saika began teaching her about her own powers, and just like that, a year had passed, and since he was the son of a mistress, Saika would soon have to join the military, so Glai and Luft were thinking about training him in swordsmanship. But suddenly maids came in to inform that there's a monster outbreak happened in the territory. Most of them were driven away, but one managed to get inside the forest and is now heading right this way. Hearing this, Glai ran away like a pipsqueak, and Saika rushes outside to confront it, but sees that Ifa used her powers for the first time to protect herself. And that monster's attention then shifts to Saika as it begins chasing him down, but Saika kills a monster that normally takes an entire squad to finish. And Blaise was impressed by his achievement and wanted to reward him, so Saika accepted the gesture and requested Blaise to let him enroll in the Ladonia Magic Academy, and Blaise agreed. He also wanted Ifa to attend in the academy as his servant. But the poor girl lacked magical talent, so Blaise declined it, so Saika told her to use a mantra he taught her, and with it she casted a mid-tire fire spell. But Glai was against it because he was chosen first to enroll in the Magic Academy, and by family's tradition every brother has to choose a different path. So Blaise had already made a decision to make Glai join the army. Glai was hyped out that he's being outdone by Saika, so he challenges him to a duel, and the loser has to leave the house immediately. So Blaise chose to be a referee, and the duel will be held first thing in the morning. So Saika gets to his room and starts making more of the talisman, but their Luft came in to gift him a birthday present, but asked him to go easy on Glai, and Saika was planning that as well. But Glai just can't wait to beat Saika as he called him out in the middle of the night for their duel, and Glai thought that the monster attack was all part of his plan to show off. So he was planning to kill Saika right there, but he didn't realize that Saika is a powerful guy. He used a talisman to paralyze him, and under the pressure of his spiritual energy, Glai passed out. But he wasn't half wrong. Saika summoned one of his Ayakashi to bring a monster to their mansion so that he could prove himself, and then it was time for Saika to leave for the academy, and on his way, Saika gave Ifa an elemental locket, and there seen swifts to Blaise as he remembered a girl gave him his younger brother's child. His name was Gilbert. And he was a free soul always ready for an adventure, but then he suddenly went mission on demon territory. So Blaise thought that Gilbert had a baby with a demon. But then Saika doesn't possess any magic, but his power were mysterious and powerful, and who knows what kind of threat he would become if his surroundings were bad. So Blaise decided to send him to a magical academy, where he could be nurtured by kindness away from the harsh weather of the army. Now, Saika arrives in the capital and goes to the inn where they were staying, and since Ifa is officially his personal servant, she was giving Saika some ideas about the job that maids do for their masters at night. but he's such a late bloomer that he didn't catch what she was telling him about the nighttime services. So she left to get something to eat with that disappointment, so Yuki explains everything in detail to him, but even so, Saika was not interested in getting into a relationship after learning about it, so now comes the entrance exam for freshers, but everyone has to show their magical attributes for formality. If someone has power over all 4 elements, the crystal ball will shine white, but Saika didn't have any magic and Ifa barely had any magic among freshers. A girl named Amyu took all the attention as she demonstrated that she possessed all 4 elements. Then everyone has to take a practically test, but when Ifa got her turn, she simply burned out the stone that was protected against fire magic, and not only that, but the same thing happened with the wind stone. No one had this much power that could completely destroy the stone. But then came Saika, who surprised them even more because previous assessments showed that he didn't even have any magic, so the instructor just couldn't believe his eyes about this cruel world. Then the results came out and Saika was ranked 3rd among freshmen in the test, followed by Amyu, but what surprised me was that Ifa was ranked 2nd. Despite the fact that he was the one who taught her magic. Then it was time for the entrance ceremony. But there in the garden they saw strange magic circle, but for now Saika and Ifa didn't pay any attention and headed towards the hall for the entrance ceremony. There as Amyu gave the speech. Many of the demon broke into the academy, but there Amyu charged in alone as she was the only one powerful enough to face them. And Saika left to the circle he saw, and there he saw a demon was summoning other demons through that circle, but Saika used his seal talisman to take one of the demons as a specimen. But his other attacks seemed to be useless against Gull. And when Gull attacked Saika, he was completely on the verge of losing as he lost one of his hands. Gull plans to kill the hero of this era, who possessed all 4 elements. And it was none other than Amyu, and after learning that Saika seemed to have lost his life, but unfortunately for Gull, it was all a trick to play with him for a while, and now the round 2 beings. And this time Gull thought he got Saika, but he was wrong again, so to wrap things up, Saika called his Chinese dragon to get rid of him. But then Dragon was getting away, refusing to take order from Saika because he didn't recognize Saika was as his master, but he trapped it again. And inside the academy Amyu defeated those lower demons by herself, and it was all for Saika's benefit. He wants others to believe that he is not the overpowering one, but rather someone else. So he wants to be friends with Amyu, but she just gave him the cold shoulder. But then a cattle dropped some strange stuff because a teacher was trying to move it to the upper floor. This green thing was the blood of a demon mixed with herbs. But it doesn't matter, now the homeroom teacher wanted the top students to deliver the list of freshers to the temple. But Saika wanted to go there, so he made Ifa drop out from this. Naturally teacher didn't allow it, but her identity was that of a servant, so Saika wanted to take her place. But in reality he just wanted a chance to make Amyu his friends. On their way they saw yet another magical circle and suddenly they were teleported to an underground dungeon. Saika thought about waiting for backup, but the place they were was an unknown place, so no one would come to their rescue, so they began to clear out this dungeon. But then they came across a horde of monster. Which wouldn't be a problem except Amyu got a crushing headache which left her vulnerable, and the moment she fell unconscious Sikia summoned his other beast to finish of the remaining trash. Then after a while she wake up, but for her headache, Saika puts up a barrier to protect her from curse, but she didn't think she was cursed because there were no marks on her body. But what about the parts where she can't look? Saika made a point, so she stripped down her clothes so that Saika could see her back, but there was no sign of a cruise mark. Which was strange because the barrier was on work, so just to be safe he gave a talisman as a substitute for her curse. Then aside from that Amyu was interested in him and Ifa. She thought Saika must have had his way with her because she was a servant, but his closeness with her is because she never avoided Saika despite knowing that he was a mistress's son. Then they continued their way through to get to the dungeon boss. They made an excellent team as they both worked in a synchronized manner to defeat the dungeon boss. Then they found their way out and reached the temple to deliver the list. Then thing was the magic circle, and Saika then gets to that school teacher again because he knew it was all his plan to target Amyu. He's a spy working for demons, and the one behind the curse was also him. So Saika took the curse meant for Amyu and used his spiritual power to kill that guy with his own curse. And with that, the video concludes, but stay tuned for the next part, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.